Welcome to episode number 2 of Take the Trip with Us, where you hear from travel professionals who have experienced destinations firsthand. Listen to their stories and experiences, along with recommendations for your own vacation. So I have Anne Linne with me today, and we're going to hear about her recent trip to Mackinac Island in Michigan. Mackinac Island sits in Lake Huron, and it's between Michigan's upper and lower peninsulas. And if I remember correctly, Anne, you stayed in an RV, so you camped.
I did, yes.
That's exciting. So this is something you've done before. This is your first time staying in an
No, this
RV.
was our absolute first time of renting an RV and staying in a campground like that.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So tell me about it. What was the rental like? How did that go?
The rental went very well. I reserved it over the phone, and the agent was great that I spoke to and kind of gave me all the information I needed. And so what was really good, right after you make the reservation, they send you an email that has a video on it that is super, super helpful. It's pretty long. It's, maybe 30 minutes, but it tells you literally everything you need to know about an RV. And since we knew nothing, this was great.
So
So
you drove it. It's one that you drove.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so when we picked it up, you arrange a time to pick it up, which is great. So they're ready for you. And they showed us around somewhat, but honestly, we knew so much about it from the video that we didn't feel like we needed them to do that a lot. Another thing that was really important was their sanitizing procedures are great, and they talk to you about that so you feel comfortable getting in the RV and that it's been cleaned and sanitized. So that all went very easily.
That's good. So when you got to the campground, then see, I would worry, I think about like the whole sanitation and
Yeah.
water, and you have a toilet. So you
Yes.
felt comfortable with all that.
Well, after a time, we felt comfortable. I would say, yeah, the first, half hour or so, we kind of re-looked at the video to make sure we were doing this right. And we had a full hookup campsite, which I found out for me is very important. I like to be hooked up to their water, have electrical, hooked up to their, sewer system, whatever. So we figured all that out. And really by the next day, we felt pretty comfortable with it all. So that was
That's
good.
awesome. That's great. And you went to just one campground, or was it couple that
Uh,
you did?
we went to a few actually. So our first day, we drove to Traverse City and stayed at a campground there, it was beautiful and very wooded. You felt very, very much part of nature and the outdoors. And that was the Timber Ridge campground. And I highly recommend stopping in Traverse City. It's a beautiful place. You can also stay a little closer to the actual beach because it's right on Grand Traverse Bay. So you can stay there, and you could actually be within walking distance of restaurants and things like that. So
Now, was that right on Lake Huron then?
that is actually on Lake Michigan.
That's on
So
Lake Michigan? Okay.
I believe, if I have this correct, if I have my geography correct, Mackinac Island sits in the middle of Lake Michigan to the west and Lake Huron to the east. So when you're
Okay.
driving up Michigan, you're driving up along the coast of Lake Michigan. But then, yes, when you get up to Mackinac City, you are on Lake Huron.
Okay. Got it. And then how did you get across to the island?
So there are ferries that run to the island. There are several ferry companies. And we actually talked to them at the campground, and they are affiliated with one particular ferry, and you can get a discounted ticket through them. So you just, and they run constantly, so you take
And
the.
which campground? Tell me about this campground. Which one was this that you stayed
Okay,
at?
so this was in Mackinac City, and it was called the Mill Creek Mackinac Campground.
Okay.
And so it was actually very highly recommended by another agent of ours, and she has stayed there before. It really was incredibly beautiful. The trees, literally right on Lake Huron, and you can book a site that is right on the lake with a view of the Mackinac Bridge, which is really cool.
Wow. Okay, you're
Yeah,
making me want to go.
it was really spectacular. Like
Oh,
I had no idea that there could be campgrounds that looked like that, that
so you
were.
have a view, but
Mhm.
what's it like at the campground? Are there activities to do even just there at the
Uh,
campground?
yes. So we went in September. So not quite as many kids there. A lot of adults traveling, a lot of retired people. But they do have a pool there. It's heated, which is probably a really good idea for Northern Michigan.
Yeah.
And they have hiking trails, they have bike trails, they have bike rentals. There is actually a golf course that is close by, that kids or adults could play in. There's mini golf as well. There's an arcade room in the camp store. And it's just, in general, it's just a beautiful place to be outside. Everybody's kind of walking around. There's lots of dogs there. People are walking their dogs, and it just, had a lot of things to do.
Yeah. So right now we're in that crazy time of COVID-19. So how did you feel then? You felt comfortable, it sounds like, with just
Did.
walking around, you're outside,
Right.
you're already naturally physically distanced, right?
Right, right. And that's kind of why we chose to do the RV. We thought, I'm not sure I want to stay in a hotel right now, so we're going to try an RV and see how that goes. And that prevents a lot of stopping on the way and having to go into bathrooms at gas stations and whatever. So I felt very safe, and being outside like that was wonderful, I thought.
So for those people that haven't done that before, when you mention not having to go into a gas station bathroom, you can use the toilet right there in your RV, right?
You can, and
Yes.
if you ask my husband, that was a very big bonus because I don't know, I drink a lot of drinks when we're on the road, so it was
Yes, I
very
drink a lot of
convenient.
water too. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. And really just pulling over somewhere and probably fixing a picnic lunch or
Yes,
yeah,
that was
you're
actually great too. We hadn't really thought about that, but it was really nice. Yeah, we would, choose kind of a pretty rest area to stop in and make our lunch, and yeah, it was great.
yeah, because you have a refrigerator,
Yes.
right? Yes. Okay.
Correct, yes, which we
Perfect.
found out runs off of the propane tank, I believe. I learned
Okay.
so many new things about this, but yeah.
Yes. Well, you learned a lot very quickly. That's awesome. So now you mentioned dogs. I
Mhm.
think now you brought your dog.
We
Is that
did
right?
bring our dog, yes.
Okay.
And she's been in the car with us many times for trips, but never in this kind of a setting. And it was great for her because it's big. So, usually she's just lying in the back of the car, and she was able to kind of lie wherever she wanted. She could be on one of the couches. She actually spent a lot of time just on the floor right in between my husband and myself. But
Yeah.
yeah, she enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's super. And it's good that the rental unit allows the dogs to come too. And then once you're at the campground, you just obviously have to have the dog on a leash, but it was
Right.
fine just walking around anywhere. And
Yes, you do have to check that beforehand though, because not every campground does allow dogs.
okay.
So it seemed like when I was checking into them, most of them did. A lot of people are traveling with their dogs. So that was
Okay.
really a bonus.
So then tell me, so your destination was Mackinac Island. So once you're up there and you're camping and you took a ferry over, is it a car? You take a car over there? You're driving? What do you do when you
So
get over there?
this was actually great. They have a shuttle that runs to the specific ferry we were going to. I think it was the Star Ferry. And the dog is allowed on the shuttle, because I was
Okay.
worried about all of this. I thought, how is this going to work? And I called ahead of time, and they said, your dog can come on the shuttle. The dog is allowed on the ferry. The dog is allowed on Mackinac Island, which I was actually shocked at. And there are a lot of people that bring their dogs. It's amazing. So it was super convenient. You just walk to the pickup spot with your dog, get on the shuttle, go to the ferry, and you're getting off the island and, onto the
So I
island.
guess you're just walking around the island. Is there everything pretty close by?
Well, so there are different things you can do. We right away kind of went for a walk because we had the dog with us. A lot of people rent bikes, and we've done that in the past. We've been to Mackinac Island before, and that's a really super fun thing to do. You can bike around the entire island. I would say, I can't remember exactly, but maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours it will take you. And a lot of the hotels there pack a picnic lunch for you so you can
Oh,
stop along the way and have a beautiful view and have your lunch. But right when you get off the ferry, that is the main part of the island where all of the shops are. So if you wanted to just stay right there in that area, you could spend the entire day in the shops and restaurants. And Fort Mackinac is right there, which is a kind of a cool historical fort, and they have presentations probably every hour or so. You can do that. And for people who don't necessarily want to walk around or ride a bike, you can have a horse and carriage ride. And that
oh,
takes you several different places. You can either, I believe you can take it all the way around the island if you want. You can, just take it to specific spots. There are a lot of little churches on Mackinac Island for some reason, and a lot of people get married there. And you'll see them riding through on their, horse and carriage ride, getting after their wedding or whatever. So it really is a step back in time because there are no cars allowed on the island. So
okay. So
yeah,
no cars at all. Okay,
no
so it
car.
sounds like restaurants, shopping, the little churches, some history out
Mhm.
there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then something else, I mean, a lot of people, what they know Mackinac Island for is the Grand Hotel. And that is the big, beautiful white hotel with the porch that stretches the entire way. You see it even from where our campsite was, we could see the hotel. It's that big. But
Oh,
as you're coming in on the ferry, that's what you see. It's kind of set up on this hill. There's a couple movies that have been set there. I don't know if people are familiar with Somewhere in Time, but one of my favorite movies that was shot there with Christopher Reeve and I can't even remember, Jane Seymour. And so that's a hotel you can stay in, but you can also go on a tour of it if you are just there for the day. There's actually a horse and carriage ride that will take you there, and then you do the tour. Or I believe you can also arrange to have tea there and do a tour because you can't just walk in and look around. You have to
okay.
actually kind of be part of a tour or be staying there.
Okay, sure. That makes sense. So do
Mhm.
you feel that you could spend more than a day there on the island?
Definitely. I probably would suggest spending 2 days, and I know of people who've spent 3 days. So it kind of depends what you want to do. But I think 2 days would be very reasonable to spend there.
Okay, very cool. So tell me anything else that you saw, maybe some of the beach towns in your traveling there. Are there other areas that you would recommend to people?
Really, you can do so many things on this trip because there are so many beach towns on the way up there. On the way back, we actually stopped in South Haven at another campground, and that's a beautiful beach area as well. When you're in Traverse City, you can go over to the Sleeping Bear Dunes, which are really beautiful. You could spend the day there. There are actually other campgrounds right by Sleeping Bear Dunes that you could go to. Ludington and Muskegon are two other beach town areas that are beautiful. Holland. Um, I think a lot of people would possibly want to stop in Saugatuck on the way up or back. That's a really cute little artsy town with really nice restaurants and things to do. So really, you could make this trip what you want it to be. There are really so many places to stop. Um, it would be a really beautiful trip to take.
Yeah, and it's so funny because so many times people dream about, going to Europe or taking a trip to Hawaii or going to all these other places when right in our own backyard sometimes there's just
Right.
places that we haven't discovered and
Yeah.
seen and been to. And so I think that's really, really neat that you were able to go and do that. So
Yeah. Well, and I
yeah.
mean, honestly, it really, like I said, it's a step back in time. feels so different from any other place that most people have been. You know, it's just it's so charming and quaint and beautiful, and you know, you kind of can't believe this is exists in the United States, but it is, you know, for me, it's a must do. So
Oh,
I
that's
loved it.
awesome. And it sounds like you two had a wonderful time and
We did.
relaxing. And now you've learned all about camping, so you can do it again. And
Yes, I'll feel much more confident the next time. That is for
That's
sure.
that's great. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anne. I really appreciate it. And to all our listeners today, please tune back in with us as we continue to bring you information about destinations that you and your family may want to visit. So take the trip with us, hear our stories about new destinations that we're exploring, learn tips and tricks that we have found useful, and keep dreaming with us about the next destination, the next vacation, or the next adventure. Until next time, keep dreaming.